Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand and happy Friday. There's a lot to be happy about. Wembley, we are coming to you. We're in London, aren't we? We're on our way to London this weekend. Manchester United in the semi-final. Erik ten Hag has his press conference a little bit later on. Also, we've got some news regarding the manager. Julian Nagelsmann is not going to be Manchester United's new manager in the summer, and where does this lie Erik ten Hag's future? Does that mean that the prime candidate isn't available? Should we stick with Erik ten Hag? Should we still look at other options? Going to discuss that. Todibo blow, a centre-back that Man United have been tracking for nearly 2 years, could be off to a different club. Going to be speaking about that in a second. And where does that leave our centre-back options? Also, it's the best young player in the league's birthday today. Can you guess who that is? Going to talk a bit about that. And just Manchester United in general, got some quotes coming out about Anthony, quotes coming out from Casemiro. Who would we start going into the Coventry game? Getting some news in. A little bit about Frimpong as well. A little bit about Kovar, who Manchester United had, and then he's gone to Leverkusen and he's doing really well. Was that a mistake? Going to talk about that. But welcome everybody. It is Friday. I'm in a good mood. I'm running off like zero sleep right now, but I'm just excited for the weekend. Enough time has passed from Manchester United's last performance that I've got over it now and I'm ready to be hurt again. I'm ready to be hurt again. And surely against Coventry, Manchester United can put a performance together and we can get through to the final of the FA Cup. Manchester United could have more silverware than Arsenal this season. Let that sink in. I mean, we're hoping that Chelsea's going to knock City out, and even then Chelsea's going to be tough the way we're playing. But there is still hope, and where there's still hope, I will still believe. But welcome everybody to the chat. First things foremost, let's talk about Julian Nagelsmann. A lot of people, including myself, have said if Erik ten Hag isn't Manchester United's manager going into next season, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS decide to part ways, they would want Julian Nagelsmann as their prime target to take over the Manchester United job. Well, that isn't happening because Julian Nagelsmann is set to sign a new contract with the German national team. He won't be going to Bayern Munich. He won't be going to Manchester United. He won't be going to Liverpool. He is going to extend his contract till 2026. That is the news coming out of Germany. It is a huge blow to the clubs that are in the managerial market because he is a top candidate, and it's a huge boost, I think, to Erik ten Hag in keeping his job. Get in the chat what you think, because where are you at on this now? Nagelsmann not being available, what other options are left out there, really? Good options for Manchester United. We're going to break them down and kind of talk about it. But for me, I think this is a huge boost in terms of Erik ten Hag having more confidence in keeping his job in the summer, because if you were going to change it, Nagelsmann would probably be the guy, but now that's not going to happen. Who's really left on the table? Welcome everybody to the show as well. Get your chats in, get your opinions in, how you're feeling, who's your front three in the Coventry game. Let's talk about everything. Let's get into it this Friday morning. James Leonard, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Welcome everybody. Let's get a poll going. Let's get a poll going in the chat. What poll should we do? What poll should we do this morning? Let me know what poll you want, because I want to get some interaction going. So what poll do you want going in the United Stand live chat, and we'll talk about it. But on the manager front, let's get the actual news that is coming out. So Julian Nagelsmann is set to sign a new contract till 2026 with the German national team and will not be the coach of Bayern Munich. That's coming out from Germany, which also means he won't be on the table for Manchester United. So when you look at the options that have been touted to replace Ten Hag, and you look at the manager shortlist, Nagelsmann was towards the top. You've got Southgate and Potter that I kind of just breezed past because I'm thinking, I'm just hoping that's like a bit of a rumour. I'm hoping that's a bit of a fallback. I'm hoping that's not actually, you know, top prospect for Manchester United, even though, to be honest, with people I've spoke to, I have been told that Southgate is right up there in the running, but again, I'm not going to say that's for definite because I'm not 100% sure on the people that have told me. That's just word that I've heard. And then you have De Zerbi. They're the names that we're getting linked to. Amarim's probably going to go to Liverpool, and he's not really been mentioned much with Manchester United. For me, these are all managers that you can kind of connect from different ways. So Gareth Southgate, you connect him through Dan Ashworth and the work that he's done with the English national team and his relationship with Dan Ashworth. And I think he also has a relationship with Sir Dave Brailsford, if I'm not wrong. So that's how you can connect Gareth Southgate to the job. Graham Potter, They wanted to go for him for the Nice job, so he has links with INEOS. INEOS really liked him for the Nice job. Does it mean he's going to go for the United job? Who knows? But he has just turned down Ajax. He's holding out for the right job. Is he holding out for the Man United job? That's a question that you can ask there. Roberto De Zerbi, another one. He's worked with the current Nice coach, I think it is, and also his old goalkeeper coaches at Nice, and he's always been on INEOS's radar. So you can make connections with kind of all these managers through different things, and you can make these news stories. But realistically, Gareth Southgate, I don't need to explain to you why that would be a bad idea. We've talked about it numerous times on this show. It would be a disaster. It would be an absolute disaster. I'm sure of it. I mean, I would say prove me wrong, but I don't even want the chance to prove me wrong because, I mean, he's not been in club football for how many years? The last time he was in club football, Middlesbrough got relegated with him. It's just an absolute no-brainer. I was saying before we even got linked to Southgate that if he left England, I think he'd struggle to get a mid-table job in the Premier League. And that's, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, that's just my opinion on his level as a club level manager. And then to hear him getting linked to one of the biggest jobs in the world is crazy. So I don't have to explain why that won't be a good idea. Then you look at Graham Potter. Does he have the personality to be a United manager? No, we've seen it fail at Chelsea, so why give it another opportunity? I do think he's a decent coach, to be honest, and what he did at Brighton, I was very impressed with him at Brighton. But I think enough time's passed from that, and we've seen what he went on to do at Chelsea, where I just think the job's too big for him. And then you look at De Zerbi, and it's going to cost you £15 million to get him out of Brighton. On top of it costing you £10 million to sack Ten Hag, you're on to £25 million for your new manager. We're already on a tight budget. Plus De Zerbi, as much as I think he's an excellent progressive coach, that he's just going to continue to build his career, it is a huge, huge risk, the way he plays football, to bringing him to a club like Manchester United. You can take more risks at the likes of Brighton, because, you know, if Brighton lose a few games in a row, no disrespect to them, like, it's not going to flag massive headlines like it would with Man United. Man United, you know, how many games has De Zerbi even won in 2024? Man United go on that sort of run, and it's huge. So as much as I think De Zerbi could be a massive success, it could also be a failure as well. So at the moment, I think Nagelsmann was really the only guy in the race who you thought, excellent progressive coach, big personality, could work with the players we've already got, but also would, I think, be ruthless enough to want to ship some players out and also bring his own players in. And I think he could have worked with the recruitment team that we're putting together and the strategy that we're putting together. So Nagelsmann for me was the guy where I thought, you know what, if they get rid of Ten Hag, he's probably the perfect guy to come in. But now that he's not available, who actually is available to come in that makes sense, and you are absolutely sure this is the right thing, this is the right decision, we're letting Erik Ten Hag go, but we're doing it for the right reasons because this is the guy that's going to come in and manage Manchester United. There's no one that screams that to me. There's no one out there that I'm like, yes, let's go and get him now. And I think that boosts Erik Ten Hag's chances of still being in a job, because despite how poor Ten Hag's done this season, a lot of the fan base still want to give him a chance. And I think Sir Jim and INEOS, it works better for their pockets and the way that they're kind of looking over this summer to keep the manager and focus on the squad for the time being. So we'll see what happens with this. I still think that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS probably do want their own guy in and probably do want to make a change. It's just whether they can do that with the options that are available. Let me know in the comments, do you think Ten Hag will still be manager come next season? I mean, there's a lot of if, buts and maybes. You lose to Coventry and let's be honest, like, there's not a chance he'll still be here, I don't think. It's really on a knife edge right now, his job. But I think there's still a chance that he can still be a Man United manager come next season. Ten Hag needs time, says Muchwani Mabingo. Every single manager is a risk, says people. Says every single manager a risk, says the ferocious in the chat. Someone talking about Hansi Flick. He's not even been... I mean, I can understand why people would want these sort of managers. I see people saying Zidane, Hansi Flick, Simeone, all good, very, very, very good managers. But they've not been linked to Man United, and I just don't think there's a chance that they'll come. And that's sad because, you know, we're Man United, we should be able to hopefully go and get anyone that we wanted, but I just don't think we're living in that world anymore. Zinedine Zidane doesn't speak English, and I don't think he wants to manage in England. I don't think he has any aspirations to. You look at Hansi Flick, yeah, I think that actually could be a good appointment, but we've not even been linked to him in the slightest. Simeone, is he the right fit for Manchester United and the way that we want to play? Also, he's the highest paid manager in the world. I just don't think there's any chance you're getting him out of Atletico. Ancelotti would be a dream, wouldn't he? Like, Ancelotti would be a dream, but I just, again, don't think that's going to happen at all. So, realistically, past Erik ten Hag, you're looking at the managers that Man United have been most linked to, past Erik ten Hag, are De Zerbi, Graham Potter and Gareth Southgate. They're the three that we've been linked to the most. So they're the three that I'm thinking, if Ten Hag left, would I be happy with either of them three taking over the job? Obviously, it'd go De Zerbi, Potter, Southgate for me in the list, but still none of them I'd be absolutely confident in. And when you're getting a new manager and you want to be confident, like I've said this numerous times, when Ollie left Manchester United, I knew I wanted Ten Hag. I thought in my bones he was the right guy. I think I was the first person to talk about him on the United stand as a possible candidate to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I knew that I wanted him from what I'd seen at Ajax. Okay, yeah, it's gone Pete Tong this year, and I hold my hands up and say that. But there's no one out there that I feel like that with. That's just my opinion and my interpretation, to be honest with you. And I think if there's no one there that gives you that absolute confidence, I talk about it like this, and this might seem really pessimistic, but it's not as if we've just come off the back of winning like multiple Premier League trophies and Champions League trophies. Man United have not been a successful football club in over a decade. I mean, in over a decade now. The last time we won a Premier League title was in 2013, wasn't it? Over a decade. Like, what's the rush for people to keep sacking and replacing managers? Everyone's rushing for quick success. We want to be back in the race. Of course I want to be winning Premier Leagues. Of course I want to be winning Champions Leagues. Of course I want to be competing with the best. It kills me every single week that I have to watch us play the way we do. And I have to see the fact that we're nowhere near it. It kills me. But at the end of the day, United we haven't been competing for a long time. In the grand scheme of things, what is another year to give Erik ten Hag to at least give him a chance? And then if it doesn't work out, sweet, we've tried it. We've given him the structure, he just isn't the right guy for us. Let's move on and look at our options then. And if it does, people will be saying, oh, aren't we happy we give him a chance off the back of not having a left back to play all season, just not having a left back, having, 64 illnesses and injuries now? Also, the sale of the club, the Sancho situation, the Greenwood situation, like so many situations behind the scenes. And we think, you know what? We're glad we give him that chance now. Obviously, his good season last season. And I always say this, like, Erik ten Hag hasn't turned into a bad manager overnight. He's not, suddenly woke up and decided he doesn't know how to coach a football team. Like, we had some very good games last season, and we had a very good season in the grand scheme of things. I mean, the way he coached at Ajax, and I know it's different to the Premier League, but he was a very highly regarded manager across Europe. So you don't just fail overnight. Give him a bit more time and let's see where things go. If there was a proper candidate that I knew would be good enough to be Manchester United manager, in my own opinion right now, then I'd understand making that change a little bit more. But there just isn't anyone that kind of sticks out to me right now. If INEOS do make the change, I'll understand it, but you've got to replace him with the right guy. And who is that? Like, who is the guy? If you want Erik ten Hag out of Manchester United and not to be the Manchester United manager, please get down in the comments who you want to replace him and why you think it'll work and why you're confident in it. And I'll be interested to know your thoughts on that, because obviously I'm open to having a conversation about it. Absolutely open to having a conversation about it. I can understand why people would want to change. I know it's been poor this season. I know it's been inexcusable. But I want to know your reasons as to why that manager would work, because if Nagelsmann's off the table, I don't really see anybody that is feasible to go and get that's going to come in and take it by storm, to be honest with you. But then again, if you lose to Coventry, like, it is over. It's 100% over, and there is going to be somebody that comes in, and we would have to wait and see who that is. Joel Glazer says, if we lose to Coventry, I'm selling this club. Marshall Outham says, not yet, but maybe McKenna in 2 to 3 Premier League seasons. I mean, Kieran McKenna is doing an absolutely cracking job at Ipswich. Like, I'm not saying give him the United job now, but they're going to get promoted to the Premier League. If he continues on the trajectory he's on, like, he could be in there with a shout eventually. Not now, obviously. We've seen what Company did with Burnley, and he's absolutely gone to pot this season in the Premier League. The Championship and the Premier League is a big jump, and McKenna obviously starts to prove himself at the top level. but he's doing excellently. Excellently. I think has he got manager of the season in the Championship? I think he has. So, interesting thought. Sandeep Patel says, sack Erik ten Hag is not the reset the club needs right now. It's player reset, but the media likes to turn on Ten Hag. INEOS needs to hold on and stay strong for now. Sandeep, I love that super chat. Everyone always wants someone to blame, and the manager's so easy. It's so easy. Of course, he's contributed to a really poor season for United, massively contributed, but he's not the reason that Man United are where we are. Like, he's not. He's one of the reasons because he's a manager, but there's so many underlying problems, so I agree with you on that. Trey Warren says, I don't understand how people want to sack Ten Hag when the worst injury season in the history of the club, he still got us to a possible final. Mark Richards super chatting. And obviously, we all did our hate watches this week, didn't we? We all hate watched City, we all hate watched Arsenal, we all hate watched Liverpool. We did it as Man United fans. It's sad is how far we've fallen. I mean, I posted the picture of the iconic Ancelotti picture of him smoking his cigar because I celebrated Rudiger scoring that penalty more than I've probably celebrated, much of Man United's season, and that's sad. And I had City fans in the few that there are, joking, take the banter, in my DMs saying, oh, as if this is what your season's come to, you're celebrating us losing to Madrid. And do you know what? Yeah, and I'm going to openly do that. And I'll say it with chest, it is embarrassing that we have to do that. But that's where we're at. But could you imagine, right? Could you imagine somehow United pull off the FA Cup and we win more silverware than Arsenal this season? Like, I would laugh my head off. Obviously, by the way, I would still rather, I'm going to be honest, I'd still rather have the season that Arsenal have had where you compete in until the final stages of the Premier League and the Champions League and all that jazz, rather than watching us play horrible football week in, week out and win an FA Cup. But to win an FA Cup, it'd still be a huge achievement considering everything that Erik ten Hag has gone through this season and how poor the team has been. We have to get past Coventry for that. We have to get past whoever's in the final of Manchester City and Chelsea. If it's City, I don't think we have a chance. If it's Chelsea, it'll still be tough on the trajectory that we've been on this season. But I think United can turn up in the final against Chelsea. It's City that's going to be the stumbling block. I'm a Chelsea fan on Saturday night, and that'll come back to bite me if Chelsea get through and then they beat us. I get that, but we have more chance of beating Chelsea than we do City. But after United have been bantering Arsenal, Liverpool and United, after United have been bantering Arsenal, City and Liverpool this week, it'd just be typical for us to go and lose to Coventry, wouldn't it? But fingers and toes crossed that doesn't happen. And if it does happen, I mean, serious questions need to be asked. I'm not disrespecting Coventry. They're having a decent season. They've had a great cup run, which they should be proud of. And like Anthony says in his interview, they're in the semi-final for a reason. We've got to be respectful. But we cannot be losing that game. Like, we just can't. Like, the quality that we'll have on the pitch compared to them in terms of the wages that we pay, the fees that we've paid. I mean, the manager that we have to be winning that game. We really do. That again, people bantering me for celebrating, City's losses, Liverpool's losses, Arsenal's losses. That's what I have to do as a United fan right now. It isn't pretty. It's sad. But that's where we're at, and I still would do it. There's plenty of alternatives, says Ian McDonald. See, this is what people are always telling me. There's plenty of alternatives. You're telling me that, but you've not named a single one. Please name them. Please name me alternatives that are feasible to go and get, United can go and get, and that you're confident that they will be successful at Manchester United. People say there are alternatives. There are people that we can go for. Well, tell me them. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the Todibo story now while you get in the chat. So, next up is Todibo, Nice, centre-back. Man United need a centre-back badly. We have been linked to Todibo ever since Erik ten Hag walked into the football club. 24 years old, I think he is. I think Romano said, if I'm not wrong, on multiple interviews that we've done with him on the United stand, that he's going to cost around 40 to 45 million pounds this summer. An excellent price for Manchester United, who are on a budget to bring in a centre-back that's progressive, fits Erik ten Hag's style of play. He's looking for the next step in his career. Todibo looks like an all-rounder. He really does. But we've had a little bit of a Todibo blow, and it's coming in that Atletico Madrid have made Jean-Clair Todibo their #1 defensive target this summer. They would consider breaking the bank to bring him in. we know Atletico are definitely looking for a centre-back. They've been in the centre-back market for a while now, and they've made Todibo their #1 target. Couple of things I could say on this. Todibo is wanted by other clubs, that is true. He's going to leave Nice in the summer. They are going to sell him. His price is around 40 to 45 million. Clubs will be interested. Spurs were massively interested in January. Didn't happen because Nice didn't want to sell him midway through a season. They were asking for like 75 million and Spurs couldn't afford that. They signed a different defender and he's still on the market. I doubt Spurs will be going back in for him, but Atletico Madrid are definitely in the Todibo race. And for me, it's one of them where it's like, I'm going to be completely honest. If we want Todibo, and he is one of our #1 targets, which it looks like he is, if we don't get that over the line, what hope do we have? Like, genuinely, what hope do we have? Sir Ratcliffe and INEOS, who own 25% of Manchester United, also own Nice. Like, if we can't get the Todibo deal over the line from Nice, a club that we own, like 25% of Manchester United is owned by Sir Ratcliffe and INEOS. They own Nice as well. If we can't get Todibo over the line for 40 to 45 million and he ends up going to Atletico Madrid instead, like genuinely, what hope do we have? So I'm still quietly confident on the Todibo deal because I don't get, if Man United wanted him, how that wouldn't happen unless the player didn't want to come to Manchester United. But from what Romano's told us, he absolutely is open to moving to the Premier League and wants to play in English football. It attracts a lot of players. Okay, yeah, United might not be in the Champions League next season. That's a big blow. Well, United won't be in the Champions League. There's no might about it. We won't be in the Champions League. That is a bit of a blow to a player like Todibo. Atletico Madrid will be in the Champions League. They're things you've got to think about. But as a player now, surely, Manchester United is an attractive prospect and we can sell that to Todibo. And you would want to come to Manchester United. You would think that. But get in the comments what you think about this. If we can't get that over the line, I'd be massively questioning what our chances are in other transfers, to be honest with you. That should be Todibo to Manchester United this summer. If Manchester United and Erik ten Hag or whoever the manager is want Todibo, that should be a nailed-on transfer. It should be. Through our connections with Nice, it has to be nailed on. It's a brilliant price tag. It's exactly what we want. We talked about under Sir Jim and INEOS and the amount of positions we need. We can't really be spending huge sums of money on each position. Like, Braithwaite's going to cost you about 70, 75 million. We've been linked to Antonio Silva. He's going to be about 80 million, apparently, from Benfica. You look at Gleison Bremer, I think it's around 50 million-ish for him, if I'm not wrong. Better, but it's still more expensive than 40 for Todibo. Like, Todibo is somebody that the club Erik ten Hag likes, fits Ten Hag's system. I mean, we all like him. We all think that he's a good player to bring in. We think he's got potential. Covers that right flank really well. Has pace. Is aggressive. Needs to work on his aerial presence a bit, but he's obviously got levels to go up in his game. But that should be a player that Manchester United can absolutely get across the line. So it's worrying me a little bit that he's linked to Atletico Madrid and they've made him their top target. But honestly, if Man United want him, they should be able to go and get him. We've got Stephen says, give a massive shout out to the job that Mark Robins has done at Coventry. Absolutely, Mark Robins has done a good job, and obviously it's a little bit of a kind of fairy tale FA Cup situation that we're in here in the semi-final, but we still have to go and beat him. And sad but true, Man United is not an attractive prospect, says Sanjeed. And Shinaju says, get Inzaghi and Barella from Inter, pay the 80 million, get a good centre-back and a full-back, sign someone like Chelsea did with Fofana. He can develop alongside Højlund, done for this window. I mean, I'm not all for what you're talking about there, and I really like Barella, but I don't know if he's the right profile to bring in. But I do like Inzaghi, actually, as an option. So thank you. I appreciate it. I asked the chat, they gave me. I said, please come with an option that you think would be successful at Manchester United, and I can understand why people are attracted to Inzaghi. I can understand that. I can get on board with people that want Inzaghi. It's just whether United would be able to do it. But I assume you would be able to go and get him. You would be able to go and get Inzaghi. I think you'd be able to do it. It's whether INEOS likes him. But as fans looking at manager alternatives, Inzaghi is a good shout. I like that shout. Mark Landry says people need to realise players want to know who they are playing for. He works for Erik ten Hag, but wouldn't work for Southgate. That's a really, really good point. So you look at Todibo, and this is so true. He's going to want to have his future wrapped up pretty quickly. He'll know that he's leaving Nice in the summer. We're pretty sure he's going to leave Nice. Nice has set his price tag at a good price tag where it gives clubs the opportunity to come in for him. If you're Todibo now, you're going to be hoping and thinking, I want my club decided very early doors so I can get into pre-season, I can get working, I can get to know my teammates, I can get set for next season, I can make a splash and I can make an impact. It's like McAllister when he went to Liverpool early doors last season. He knew he was going to leave Brighton. They had the price tag set and he had a lot of clubs coming in for him, but Liverpool were willing to pull the trigger early doors. He wanted his future sorted out quickly and he went there. And he had time to adjust and he started the season really well. You buy players towards the end of the transfer window, it takes them much longer to settle in. They're not used to the team straight away. They've not had time with the manager. So us being up in the air around our manager, that's a really good point from Mark Landridge in the chat. It puts a halt on signings because not only do the club need to be sure that the player's going to work for the new manager, but the players themselves want to have conversations with the manager. They want to know what the project is. They want to know what they're letting themselves in for. They want to know that they're going to get game time under the new manager. They want to know what their role is. It's really important to them, especially if you're taking this next step in your career. Let's be honest, everyone. Man United has been an absolute graveyard for players' careers over the past 5, 6, 7 years. It's been a graveyard. If you're a player coming to Man United, you want to know the inside-out plan of what your role is going to be and how it's going to work for you. So I understand it. If Todibo's got many options, he's got Atletico Madrid on the table, he's got United on the table, he's got multiple options on the table. If you're going to go to United, you want to know who the manager is, what your role is, and what the plan is under INEOS and Sir Jim and the new ownership. And that's really important to get that sorted. And it needs to happen very, very soon. And that's why, whether we keep Ten Hag or we're letting him go, I want to know it sharpish very soon. Obviously I want Erik ten Hag to keep his job. We all know that that's the side of the fence I'm on. But if he's going to lose his job, I want to know soon, because I think going into the transfer window it's really important. And people will say, yeah, but INEOS are going to bring in this structure to recruitment where it doesn't matter who the manager is. They want to have the overriding voice in terms of recruitment. They want to do recruitment predominantly in-house with the recruitment team. I get all that. The manager still has to have a say. The manager still has to have a say. The manager still knows the way he wants to play. The manager's voice is still massively important. It's like, Liverpool under Klopp, it's City under Pep. Sporting directors are a huge part of the recruitment business, but do you think Klopp or Pep had signed anyone that they didn't want, or they didn't think could fit their style and fit the way they would play? No. So it's important that it's a combination effort from the manager and the recruitment team, and I think that's really important going into the summer transfer window. And it's important we know who the manager is for who we want to go for. So, like Mark said, Todibo absolutely fits Erik ten Hag. But, if it is Southgate manager, touch wood it's not, he's probably going to go for something completely different. Maguire's definitely going to stay and be a starter, and he'd probably get somebody else in who knows who we'd want to go and get. But I doubt they'd have the same profile in as Todibo. So that's a really good point, and it's an important thing to look at. Just want to get up this Todibo stuff again because I want to see who the source was actually and just see. I want to see who the source is. See what the source is on this. Oh, I can't find it now. It was on my WhatsApp chat here. Let me get it in. Okay, here we go. I've got the source up now. Okay, so the source is okay. The source is decent. Its source is coming out of France. So you would think it coming out of France that there is a little bit to it, but that's the stuff on Todibo. If Atletico get him over United and he's our top priority, that is it's an absolute travesty, realistically. But let's hope that we can get him, because I actually really am a fan of Todibo, and I think for the price you can't go wrong. Let me have a look at what you guys are saying. So Geordie Joshua says, who wants to work under Potter or Southgate? Trust me, no South American. That's why Real Madrid, Barcelona and City target South American young talented players. That's a market that Man United definitely need to dip into more. The South American market. We absolutely do. We're missing out on some gems from there. And we have Super Arch says, too many old players at United. Maguire, Shaw, Varane, Evans, Casemiro. We need more youth. MCRM says it's whether INEOS see Erik ten Hag in this structure or not. If they don't, it's already done. City built for Guardiola, not for Pellegrini. Yeah, interesting points. Interesting points. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, I want to know Ten Hag's future sooner rather than later so we can just get cracking, really. Because this season, apart from the FA Cup, it's basically a write-off now, isn't it? Like, I want to get focused onto next season and making it the best it possibly can be and making sure we don't write next season off and we start off on the best possible footing that we can. But next bit of news coming up surrounding striker for Manchester United. I forgot to mention this at the start of the show that we were speaking about a striker. Going over a little bit of what's already been talked about, but a bit of new news coming in as well. So, Benjamin Sesko. So, this is coming in from Nizar Kinsella, football correspondent for Standard Sport. He says that Manchester United, Chelsea and Arsenal are all tracking Benjamin Sesko, who has a £42.7 million release clause that is due to be active in the summer. Sesko's representatives have been guests at both Chelsea and Manchester United matches this season. And honestly, this is news that's already come out. Like, Ben Jacobs has spoken about this. I think we've heard other outlets say that Chelsea got mixed up between City and Chelsea because they're both hollow clubs. But you've got City, Chelsea and Arsenal all in the race for Benjamin Sesko. That is the case right now. Like, we've heard it from multiple outlets that Benjamin Sesko is on the radar of Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United. The release clause, I think, is what is attracting Manchester United to him and a lot of other clubs as well. 42.7 million for a striker is really good in today's market. Like, Højlund's a young, blossoming striker and we paid, what was it, 72 million for Højlund? So you look at Sesko, who has a big trajectory, he's got huge potential, big talked about name across Europe. For 42.7 million, that is going to get a lot of people looking your way, especially clubs that are in need of a striker but don't want to spend massive amounts of money on one. So this, I just wanted to bring it into the show because it's kind of backing up that what we've already heard. Sesko, his agents have been at Old Trafford this season. He is wanted by Manchester United, but we haven't decided what route we're going to go down yet. United haven't yet decided if we're going to go for a young striker like Sesko or we're going to go for a more experienced striker like an Ivan Toney. They've not yet decided that. As soon as we know that, I think you'll see more development start to heat up. For example, if Man United do decide to go for a young striker to compete with Rasmus and be an option for us, I absolutely expect United to ramp up things with Benjamin Sesko. I expect Benjamin Sesko would be our first choice if we were going to go down the route of bringing a young striker in. He's 20 years old, he's got a release clause. You're not going to get much better of a player for that price tag with that ceiling right now. I expect United to go down that route. The only issue is, again, if Arsenal decide to go for it, Arsenal win the race. And how mad is it that we're in a conversation here where Arsenal are a more attractive proposition than United? I never thought I'd be saying that, ever. But these last couple of years, that's happened, and it's so sad to say. Like, do you think, as a neutral, if Benjamin Sesko is presented with the Arsenal opportunity or the United opportunity, obviously they're both going to pay the same price because of the release clause, and it's down to Benjamin Sesko. Arsenal's willing to pay, United's willing to pay. Which one do you pick? Leipzig have said, you go where you want to go. We're getting the money either way. Who do you think he picks? Because as a United fan, it kills me to say I think he picks Arsenal. You're on a stable team. Arteta's the stable manager there. He's growing something with that Arsenal team. You're going to come in, you're going to definitely play straight away. At United, you've got Højlund to compete with. Of course, I think if United succeed, it's the better club to be at, but it's just a huge if with United. It's a huge if, and it's been a huge if for numerous years. We're not in any position to kind of challenge right now. If you're Sesko, the safer option, and probably the option where you're going to be successful more quickly is Arsenal right now, just looking from the outside in, and that's disappointing. I don't think Chelsea really have a chance. I mean, they have a chance because they're in London. and that's always attractive to players coming into English football. But yeah, it's one of them. Sesko, I think we start to heat that up if we decide to go down the young striker route, but it's just whether we do that or not. I want to get a poll in the chat. Would you rather go for young striker to complement Rasmus or experienced striker? I'm not naming names because, you know, everyone has different theories and opinions on who they think would be the right player and the right profile. But would you want to go for a young striker or an experienced striker to play alongside Rasmus and compete with him? Let me know in the comments what you guys would think. But I think if it is a young player, I expect us to go all in for Sesko. Nagelsmann is just renewed from Germany till 2026. Slow Sports News, just joining in. We've talked about that already, but thank you for your chat. And Bobby says, if we don't get Todibo, INEOS obviously have a lot to answer for. Arsenal managed to get Rice by competing with Man City. True, but I think that's again because, you know, Rice wants to play, he wants to be an important part of a project, and it's City, you're just a piece in a chessboard, aren't you, really, unless you're like a De Bruyne. And you're never guaranteed game time. They had Rodri already. It made sense for Rice to go to Arsenal. Whereas for Sesko, you know, you probably have more chance playing up front, playing for Arsenal, competing with Havertz, than you do competing with Højlund. Like, I still think obviously Sesko would get game time, and they're in a better position than us. So I think it's a different situation. Hero says we need wingers. You want to bench Højlund, play Sesko as centre forward, and Rashford and Antony still remain wingers. I'm not saying bench Højlund, but we absolutely need more than one striker. And I agree with you, we need wingers that are going to be able to create for Rasmus. Not only the wingers, but the team as a whole as well. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a second, actually, because the Mirror brought out an article that was quite interesting. It had a numerous amounts of wingers up for sale from Manchester United this summer, which means we'd have to invest in wingers as well. Rodrigo Muniz says Mohamed Ahmad. He's been linked to Manchester United a lot recently. I think it's, you know, he's a big United fan and it's a connection to make, but it is someone that's to keep an eye on. Unai Emery is Abid Mahmoud. Unai Emery is an absolutely... He's an intelligent manager that is so well respected and has done brilliant things at the clubs he's been to, but he's not leaving Aston Villa for United. Aston Villa are getting Champions League and he's building something there. He's worked brilliantly at clubs that, you know, I don't want to disrespect Unai Emery because I think he's a top manager, but he's worked brilliantly at clubs that aren't like the biggest clubs in the country. It's like you look at Valencia, the work he did there in Spain. You look at Aston Villa, like not quite the top job. Whereas you look at the likes when he went to Arsenal, he couldn't quite cut it at that big of a club. But also, I think Arsenal then are not the same Arsenal they had now. They didn't have the same support that Arteta's had in the past. But Unai Emery, for me, as much as I think he is a very, very good coach, and if he was available, he'd definitely be someone I'd be open to bringing into United. He's not going to leave Aston Villa for Manchester United at this point in his career. I don't think. I think he's building something there, and he's got the Champions League to focus on with them. You know, like I said, PSG, it didn't really go amazingly for him as well. Another big club that he managed. Whereas the Valencia, you know, the Villarreal, the Aston Villas, he's really shined at them sort of clubs. So would he be able to take on a Man United? I'm not sure. But top manager, and I have nothing but respect for him. He's done brilliantly at Aston Villa. Would you rather young striker or experienced striker? Get your opinions down in the chat. I'm going to click experienced. We've already got a young striker. That's why I'm saying experienced striker, because we've got a young striker in Rasmus, and you know he's going to be coming up into his prime in a few years' time, and I think that'd be great to have someone experienced for him to work alongside. That's my take on it, and I've said that so many times before. And Richard says, Beth, calm down, he's miles better than Ten Hag. And Ten Hag hasn't got a patch on Emery, that's a fact. When have I ever said that Ten Hag's a better manager than Unai Emery? Them words have not left my mouth. All I've said is that Unai Emery has done brilliantly across his career. I think he's a top coach. I think he's extremely intelligent. But if you look at his managerial career, he's done really well at clubs that are just below the top clubs in the country. When he went to Arsenal, do I think they sacked him too early? And I don't think he got the support. Yeah, but he didn't do well at Arsenal. And then you look at PSG, and you would have hoped he would have done better there as well. That's just facts. That's just kind of looking at his managerial career. But I still think he's a top manager. And if you ask me now, who currently is a better manager, Ten Hag or Unai Emery? I think Unai Emery is a better manager currently. But Ten Hag's in the United job right now. Unai Emery's managing Aston Villa. He's not leaving that to come to United, and I don't think it's worth letting go of Erik Ten Hag to try and twist that arm to get him right now. But he's somebody to look at in the future for sure. People think Ten Hag is clear of Emery. I think Emery's a better manager right now. But Ten Hag, he's had a really bad season, hasn't he? And that kind of comes into people's minds as well. What is next on my agenda for me to talk about? So, a couple of things I wanted to speak about in terms of Kovar for Leverkusen. He's not the first choice for Leverkusen, if I'm not wrong. He's not the first choice, but he's been playing in the Europa League, and he's done excellently in the Europa League, played really well yesterday against West Ham. Someone that United let go. Was that a mistake? Get in the comments what you think about that. Frimpong as well, watched him last night. He basically plays like a right winger, doesn't he? His pace is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't want to keep beating this drum, but whoever does buy him is getting an excellent player. Should have scored. I mean, that one that he skied was terrible, but he made up for it because he scored. He obviously scored to keep Leverkusen's unbeaten run alive. They've progressed in the Europa League. Frimpong is right up there on United's radar, and he's someone that I would be absolutely looking at. I would. I think he's excellent, and I thought he was excellent yesterday. Just concerns me that he basically plays as a right winger, but honestly, like, he could probably play for a right wing as right wing for Man United right now and do a better job than the majority of our wingers do. So it's an interesting one. We'd get him in to play right back. Is he going to be able to do that? I think he would. But what are your thoughts on that? I assume a lot of people must have watched that game yesterday. And yeah, I mean, I know Kovar is Leverkusen's second choice keeper. He has been given the opportunity to play in the Europa League this season, and he's done quite well. Was he going to be a starter for United this season? No, so I understand why he'd want game time, but he is doing very well. Did we sell him, or is he on loan? I think we sold him, didn't we? I think we did sell him. Yeah, we sold him, 7.7 million. 7.7 million. So I know we loaned him out last year, but we sold him this year. Could that end up being a mistake? I'm not sure, but you know, it's one of them. We could have kept him, and he could have definitely been an option for us. Like, he could have easily have been our second choice keeper this season, and we didn't really need to sign Binder. But it's whether Kovar, you know, kind of wanted to go and play more football, but it's not even as if his first choice at Leverkusen either. So, did we spend money that we didn't need to spend in that department? Maybe, but you know, congratulations to him, and I'm glad he's doing quite well now for Leverkusen and what they're achieving. So yeah, interesting stuff. Aston Villa are a better run club than United. Our lack of structure would ruin Emery right now. Yeah, most managers get ruined when they come into Manchester United. I'm not avoiding that point. I'm Ten Hag, and I like Ten Hag, and I've said there's so much more wrong at that club than just the manager. But I just think Emery is doing such a good job this season, I really do. And I think over the course of his career, like, his European heritage as well, you've got to give him respect, and you've got to give him his dues as a manager. But a couple of quotes coming out here from Anthony and Casemiro. You can read them on the United stand. I'm not going to go into them now because, you know, it's just talking about the semi-final, and Casemiro talking about the fact that despite what everyone says, Real Madrid did want him to stay. You can look at that on the United stand's Twitter. But the last thing I wanted to bring in is, this was coming from the Mirror, and I think it's just speculation, but it said, regardless of whether Erik ten Hag stays or goes, 6 stars who cost a combined 232 million could be on their way out in the upcoming transfer window. And they named Martial, who we know is going, Greenwood, who we assume is going, but then they name Ahmad, Pellistri, Sancho, and even potentially Anthony. I mean, I assume all 4 of them won't leave, but it makes sense now why we're in for Michael Olise. if Ahmad, Pellistri, Sancho and Anthony could all be on the way out. That's 4 right wingers. Like 4 wingers for Manchester United. I think Anthony will stay. I don't see Anthony going. But Ahmad, Pellistri and Sancho easily could all go. Would it be a mistake to get rid of Ahmad? Would you want to get rid of Ahmad and bring Elise in? Because someone's going to have to part ways. It's an interesting thing that you've got to think about. I've said it all along. As much as I really rate Elise, and I think he's a creative outlet that Man United do need, especially coming from the width, for the 60 million it's going to cost you to get him, I'd rather just keep Ahmad and prioritise a winger further down the line. Like, we've got 2 centre-backs to get, a left-back, a striker, a midfielder. I think for the money in the transfer window, because you're not going to get 60 million for Ahmad, are you? Like, so you are going to have to spend in that department. I think it's worth just sticking with what we've got for now, and then kind of looking at it further down the line. We've got so many positions that we need to prioritise. I think we need to kind of prioritise what we need. And for me, a midfielder, a striker, a centre-back and a left-back would all come above a right winger right now. Get in the comments what you think. Poll on would you rather a young striker or experienced striker. Experienced striker has won with 61% and 39% say young. See, this is interesting to me because when we do the polls on the United stand on what striker to bring in, Sesko usually wins, and he's obviously a young striker. Yet on would you rather experienced striker or young striker, 60% have gone experienced, but whenever I bring Tony up, loads of people moan at me, and he's an experienced option. So it's kind of contradictory, but I'd be interested to hear what profiles you would want to bring in as the experienced striker. I'd be interested to hear like who you would want to bring in for that. And our forward line doesn't work at the moment, says guess who. Again, people would say our forward line isn't working, and it's not. But Ahmad doesn't get given any time. We should at least give him a chance. But then we've got Staffy here saying Ahmad clearly isn't getting that time. It speaks volumes. We need a starter, not a third choice. Crampton says, agree with Beth, keep Ahmad and use that 60 million for centre-back / right-back. A lot of people saying Ahmad needs to be given a chance. That's what I mean. In the words of Ricky, when he was speaking about Anthony Elanga on that fans forum, the viral clip, he never had a chance. He never had a chance. Do you remember that viral Ricky clip? Go and look it up. Just type in Ricky United stand Elanga. It's absolutely hilarious. Put it on when I need a good laugh. He never had a chance. Like, if we sell Ahmad, no one can say, you know, well, United needed to get a right winger anyway because he didn't get a chance. And people say, well, trust the manager. He sees him in training every day. But I've seen Ahmad play, you know, cameos here and there, and I just think surely he should get something. And like, you know, the FA Cup against Liverpool, his cameo was excellent. Even if he didn't score, he had an excellent cameo. Then he didn't see the light of day for a few games. Then he came on for the second half against Bournemouth. We won 1-0 in the half that he played. Obviously, it was 2-2, but we went into the half time 2-1 down. Ahmad came on. Okay, yeah, he didn't do anything special, but we ended up drawing that game and we won the second half 1-0. So we went from losing the first half to 2-1 to winning the second half 1-0, and it's like, what is Ten Hag so scared of about playing Ahmad? Because, you know, you brought him on for a half of football and, you know, we didn't collapse. You know, it wasn't any worse than what you had on beforehand. Give Ahmad a run of games. That's what, because, you know, this decision on whether to bring in Michael Elise for 60 million, I think a lot of it does depend on what Ahmad can bring, because if Ahmad can be the player that we think he can be, it's not worth spending the 60 million on that department. And with the amount of positions we need, it's worth spending it elsewhere. Now, I'm not saying Ahmad's better than Elise. I'm not saying that. Elise is a top player, and if we had unlimited money, I'd be all for that deal. But the way I can truly make my decision is if Ten Hag could actually give Ahmad a run of games, then I'd be able to say if I think he's good enough or if we do need to go in for Elise. So that's a question that we need to think about and address. Sanil Doohan says, with Ten Hag tactics, do you ever think that we could finish above Guardiola and Arteta? If the answer is no, sack him now and stop wasting time. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that would struggle to finish above Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola's dominated the Premier League ever since he came in with Manchester City. It's a really tough ask. The only one who's really been able to do it is Klopp. And Arteta's trying his best, but he still, I don't think, is going to get it over the line this year. So it's a tough ask. I think the only way you can really answer that question is once Erik Ten Hag's added the structure around him and you see him with a proper squad that he's built, is he then looking more like it? And if no, then I understand sacking him. But I don't think you can really judge Erik ten Hag fairly on that right now. But anyway, everyone, that is the show. End it on told you saying we need creatives. Also, who would you start as your front three in the game against Coventry? Let me know in the comments, because Anthony's been on some good form recently. He speaks about in his quotes. Rashford seems undroppable. Højlund's going to start centre forward. Garnacho has been the mainstay in that front three for us this season. Who would you be your starting front three? That's going to be a headache for Ten Hag. It's going to be a head scratcher. Who's it going to be? I fear he's going to leave Garnacho out, but he's trusted Garnacho a lot this season, so I hope he doesn't. I think Garnacho should play that game. I'd play Garnacho and Anthony, going to be honest. I'd bring Rashford on off the bench, but that's just my opinion based on what I've seen in recent weeks. That doesn't mean Rashford can't be a huge option from the bench, because he can be. But let me know in the comments what you would do, because I think Coventry are going to sit back a little bit, and I think Anthony's good in games like that where, you know, Rashford and Garnacho are both very direct. When you're against a low block, you need players that are going to be able to kind of keep the ball a little bit and play those intricate passes. And I think Anthony's more suited to that. So yeah, interesting stuff. Maybe when the game opens up a bit more, that's when you can use the Rashford to his best ability. But let me know in the comments what you think. Hit a like on the video. Get your comments in down below. All your thoughts on Erik ten Hag, on the transfers, and obviously Coventry coming up on Sunday. Erik ten Hag's press conference for the Coventry game is coming up this afternoon. Mark will be covering that. The next time I will see you guys will be on my road trip on the way to Wembley. Wembley is going to be an unbelievable experience, because it always is. It's always a pleasure to go there. We will be there. I will be there covering that for you, bringing you the road trip to Wembley, bringing you, the post-match thoughts at Wembley. Even going to be we're going to be in the mix zone there, so maybe we might get a player interview. Who knows? We'll be there, and we'll speak to you from Wembley. That's the last time you'll see me. And I actually am going to be doing my first match vlog on my own channel. So please go and follow me on my YouTube channel. I am going to quickly write something in the description here, so you can go and click on my YouTube channel. You can find it. It is at Beth Tucker. I don't know if that's going to be the name. Please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm going to be bringing my first Wembley vlog out on there. Hopefully it's one to remember, and it's one that will see us going through to the final. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for the presser later on this afternoon, and we will see you on the next one.